Bless up, fam. So, have you ever thought about, I buy some land, purchase the land, I want wooded land, I harvest the trees, I take the money from the trees, and then I use that for my infrastructure. Have you thought about completely harvesting all of your trees on your land? Let me give you a few things to consider. Today, I give you a few things to consider before you think about doing that. First thing, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? Firewood, things for the homestead. But if you're seriously thinking about going in there, you digging in there, you want to really harvest your land, think about land management, because now that you're a property owner, and if you own multiple acres, you become a land management team, right? Your own land management team. So think about future uses. Don't just think about right now. Understand you got environmental change that will happen. You got your habitat change, your wildlife. You got a lot of other things that will impact and that can influence. So think about it. Another thing you want to think about, you want to think about the condition of your trees. Make sure they're in great health. For me, a lot of my property, due to the hurricanes and due to the storm, it did not lend way to a great harvesting opportunity for me. Even though I didn't want to harvest a lot of my plants if I did, a lot of my trees if I did, but I really couldn't yield a return or the gains that would cost me the option to be like, okay, let's do this, and then let's be without trees, and then let's replant all trees. Because remember, hey, it's going to take 15 to 20 years before you start seeing some large mature trees. Also consider the age of your trees, the trees on your property. Not only what type of tree, what are trees that provides you great gains. You know, if you got trees that are not that profitable, you won't really gain too much money. Sometimes you'll have a bigger mess left otherwise if you just went ahead and just say, hey, let me let these trees, let me leave a natural habitat. I still have game, I still have the natural habitat around me. Then that way you still have value added to your land. Now, if you got mature trees, trees that are sought after, hardwoods, they're mature trees, then that may be a consideration, because understand this, large mature trees are very sought after for certain types of trees. Know your trees, know what type of trees you have on your property. Know your local market, know what your local area is paying for trees. Get to know where would you harvest your trees, where would they be sent, and what is that mill in high demand for. What type of size, diameter, and what specific types of trees is your nearest mill looking for, because sometimes you may have mills, but they may be so far away that it eats into your budget as far as you obtaining a great profit. Now, with a lot of pines, what you can do, you can have selective cuts. You don't have to get every single tree on your property. You can thin your trees out. These are planted pines. I can easily thin these out and collect the revenue from these being thin. So that's another thing to consider. You don't have to take every single plant. You can get certain trees thinned out, but keep in mind, you're still trying to maintain your ecosystem, your habitat. And sometimes when they get ready to harvest trees, on your property, it will impact your environment. It will impact your level of organization, for as they will leave traces of debris from other trees, trees they have to access to, trees they cut down, they push down. It will leave a little mess in many cases. So understand that too as well. It's coming. You knew it was coming. Permits. Make sure that you check it with your local county. Make sure you understand the permits that are required for harvesting trees on your land before you go ahead and you try to contract that yourself. Make sure that you know the local permits that you need to pull. Another thing is, you might want to go ahead and get a survey if you don't have a survey, because you need to know the boundaries. You do not want to go on someone else's land, your neighboring land, and then they may harvest the land, because you're going to have to clearly mark the parameters, the boundaries, because understand this, not everybody do good business. Not everybody, sometimes they may be looking at opportunities on the border of your property, and you do not want to encroach on your neighbor's property and harvest their woods. I've heard many stories where people have done that, and if not the actual owners, but the people that they're contracting with have intruded on their neighbor's property. So make sure that you know the boundaries, make sure you communicate the boundaries, and check with your local county for permits. The bottom line is the cost, right? Consider the cost. Understand what's the cost. Once again, like I said, the mill. How far is the local mill from your property? because there not only is fuel costs, you also have labor costs. How much labor is required to harvest? Is it easy accessible to your property? Do you have a roadway that large trucks can come into your property? Will a roadway need to be established? Do they have access to public roads? How hard it is to navigate to those public roads from your property? All of these things are factors to be considered when you're thinking about harvesting your trees on your land. So think about that. You check with your local forestry department, because you need a forester that knows what he or she is doing. Also need to know the local loggers so they can make sure that they get good reputable professional help. And then they also need to have their appraisals done to give you a good appraisal, give you a good idea how much the cost is. You're going to need some good professional help, some guidance throughout this process, and make sure that you vet them. Take your time to really vet them and know that that's someone that you can truly trust and depend on. So you want to give those opportunities to them to walk the land. You want to interview them just like you interview anyone else, and you want to look at multiple people and make sure you're dealing with someone that you feel like you can trust and that has the actual historical background that's proven that they can be trusted. And talk to your local neighbors too as well. Find out people who have, and ask for referrals on people around the area, immediately around the area, who has utilized this service as well. Also, save something in your budget for, remember, you want a real good piece of land. You want a good quality piece of land. You want to maintain a good quality piece of land. So save something in your budget for reforesting. You want to make sure that you plant new trees on your property, because you still got to maintain erosion control. You still want a good habitat. You want a good piece of land, unless you're converting it to actual pasture land and farmland. So consider those things. Even if you're converting it to pasture land, farmland, keep you something in your budget. You might need fencing. You might even need to create ponds or different things like that for your cattle or for whatever purpose. So think about your purpose, what you need, and think about the lasting amount of revenue that you might need to continue on with your process. Anything, when you get your revenue, always consider your taxes and the tax implications, because the taxes will be taken out, and timber taxes are possible, but it's a little bit different. So do your research, get with a tax professional, get with a financial consultant that can guide you, so you'll know that you need to extract that before you spend it, because a lot of times that following year, that's when they will be seeking those taxes from the revenue that you earn through your timber sales.